Hi everyone, and welcome to another session of Building Blocks. I'm Judy Brown from the Little Fabric Garden, and I'm here today to show you kind of another one of those little magic tricks. I don't know if you remember when I first started doing these, I did a lot of those the mystery blocks, you know, like you start at one thing and then you change it, cut it, and then you change it into something else. Well, today's going to be like that, except today we're not going to do just a block. We are going to do like a quilt. So I will show you what we're doing, and for time's sake, to save on some time, I put this together. Now, how this works is you just do a patch quilt, all right? And for this, I use 5-inch squares. You can use any size you want. You can do 6-inch, 10-inch, whatever, but they all have to be the same. All right, and so what we ended up doing is starting out, you sew these squares together. All right, now, I chose to do 7 across, and if I do 7 across, then I have to double that for my rows. So I have a 7 by 14, quilt top, I guess you would call it. It's like tall and skinny, but it's a quilt top. So that's what I did here. And so if you decided you wanted to make it bigger, you could do 9 across, but it would have to be 18 rows. However you wanted to do it. When this is finished, it ends up being square. So, that's something that you can remember. But I chose to do the 7 by 14. So doing the 7 by 14, you need 98 5-inch squares, or squares, whatever size you decide. But if you want to do the 7 by 14, you need 98 squares. So that, if you have to cut from your stash, you're going to be doing, quite a bit of cutting. And if you use a charm pack, you're probably going to have to use 3 charm packs to do it. So that's how I started out. All right, you will also need, to put the inside and outside border on, you're going to need an inside, which I am going to use black on, and this is going to be my outside. Since these were all batiks, I decided to go with the batik for the outside border. You will need 5 strips at 2 inches for your inside border. And I cut 5 strips of 3.5 inch for my outside border. So, that being said, this thing is ready to cut so that you can see how this is done. And you may have seen it before, but it's just amazing to me that how you can have one thing and then cut it a certain way and then it turns into something else. So I also drew these lines on here, my cutting lines, and I'm going to explain it to you. What you end up doing is cutting from this corner here, and you cut straight through till you get to the middle. All right, so you're going to be cutting diagonally to here, which ends up being 7 blocks. And then from here, you're going to cut diagonally to the other corner. So when you are finished, you will have one great big triangle and you will have 2 smaller triangles. So I'll show you how that's done. And you really don't need to do a line. I did it so that, if I got nervous or anything, I'd have the line there to fall back on. But if you just go in between those, then you'll be fine. If you go diagonally down the middle, you will be fine. That one, I have to go the opposite way. I'm sure there's an easier way to demonstrate it, but I don't know it. So here's the big one, and then there's two that are this size. Alrighty, now I'm going to show you how to put them together. Alright, here, this is what it looks like if you have it laid on your table or on your floor at home when you do this. So here's the big triangle in the middle and the two smaller ones on the side. Now the thing that we're going to do next is we're going to take this piece and we are going to bring it this way. Alright, we're going to put it like this, and then we're going to take this one and we are going to turn it this way. And so now this is what it looks like when you do that. So we will now sew these two pieces together, and then we will add the bigger one, and you can see that it turns into a square. And if you were looking at it the direction that I am looking at it, it will be on point. So right now we're going to sew the two smaller ones together, and then I'll get the bigger one and we'll sew that. All right, so I'm going to get my little foot pedal here ready, and I did not pin these. I don't know that it'll matter so much if they don't match completely, but for, like I said, for time's sake, it makes it easier if I don't have to pin. So here we go. Be lucky, maybe all these little squares will match up. But I've seen this done with a 4.5-inch square that would end up being 4 inches, you know, finished. I think it'd be really, really cute to do it with, do a miniature and do it like in use 2.5-inch squares. You know, you might have to put a bunch of them together, but maybe for a little table topper or something, I think it would be kind of cute to do that. I've got a lot of scraps, so someday when I'm not doing anything, I just might try that and see how it works. Sewn together, and I'm going to go over and press that, and then I'm going to get the other half and we will get those sewed together. All right, so I went over and I pressed the two together, and now I'm taking that piece that I pressed and the big triangle, and I'm going to sew those together. And when we are done, that we shall have the top done, which, like I showed you, will be a square. And I don't think I told you this, but when this gets done, it's a 45-inch square is what the 7 by 7 5-inch turns out to be. So I didn't measure any of the other sizes because I knew that I was doing this one, so I didn't bother to do that. But this one ends up being 45 inches. I'd really like to try doing a big one, you know, like maybe doing it, you know, 15 by 30 or something like that, and then cut that and see how big it turns out to be, and you know, just play around with it a little bit to see the different sizes. So this goes right up at the top of the list with the disappearing core patch that I love so much. And I always like doing things that are really easy, but when they're finished, people think they're really hard. They were really hard. And this is one of them, because if you do like sewing on point, you know, the regular way, you know, you have to put those triangles in there, and you know, and get it going one way, and you know, and that can be kind of difficult. But when you do it this way, you know, and you're just doing the blocks, of course, you're not doing anything fancy, but you know, you're doing the blocks, and somebody who's not used to like quilting or hasn't done it a lot, and they see those things on point, and they're like, whoa, you know. So I love to do things like that. They think I know more than I do. All right, so here is the outcome, and this measures 45 inches square. And you can see that it is on point. We started off at squares going straight across and straight down, and now we have something on point, which people will, like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And the directions are very, very easy. Like just watching the video, you'll be able to see how to do it. It's very, very simple. Now, I am not going to sew all of this, but I am going to tell you that I cut the strips for the inside border at 2 inches. So I cut 2 that were 45 inches because that's what the square is, and those go on the side. And then I cut 2 48 inches, and that's going to go on top and bottom. All right, so then next we have the outside border, and I cut these at 3.5, and these are the 2 of them were cut at 48, and they will go on the sides. And then 2 I cut at 54.5, and that will go on top and bottom. So when you're finished with this, if you do it like 7 by 14 and use 5-inch squares, you will end up with a 54.5 inch, around there, approximately 54.5 inch square quilt top. And and easy to put together, and I would love for you to try it and see what you think. It's pretty cool to see how you start out and how you end. So again, you can get the directions, watch the video, of course, and then if you want the written directions, you can get them at the library, you can get it online, or you can stop at the store and pick one up here. And again, join us the next time. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.